Pod launch sequence initiated. Entering planetary atmosphere.
My creators, the cherishers and sustainers of worlds, give me this day my daily pleasures as I give to those who seek pleasures from me.
External temperature approaching critical levels.
How's everyone doing today? Okay, good. Now in today's Subnautica run, we're gonna play as Jochi Khasar. And if you don't know who that is, he's the guy from Lifepod 13 found in the Mushroom Tree Forest. You know, the big one, with the giant tree, and the wreckage, and the portal to the end of the game. Now how this run is going to work is we're going to spawn in Lifepod 5 as normal, and then cheat over to the Mushroom Tree Forest, build ourselves a tiny little base right next to Lifepod 13, with the same basic starting material as Lifepod 5, and then go from there. I would use the mod Lifepod Unleashed, but syncing Lifepods are kind of buggy, and sometimes they can phase right through the ground, so yeah, I don't really trust it not to ruin the entire run. So we're gonna build a mini base down here with exactly everything that is in the Lifepod. We give ourselves a fabricator, a locker for storing things, a radio which will be half built to simulate the broken radio that we get in Lifepod. We'll get a medical kit fabricator, and we'll get a solar panel so that we can have the basic power supplies. The solar panel is the same amount of power, albeit actually probably a lower regeneration rate than the Lifepod, because we are 182 meters down trying to get solar power instead of at the surface. We'll also get a beacon to simulate the Lifepod's built-in tracker that you get. When all of that is done, I simply drop this habitat builder in the Lifepod next to me since I'm not actually going to use that Lifepod. Now, first order of business, we need to figure out what it's going to take to make our basic tools. And yes, you're seeing this correctly, some of these recipes are going to require weird things, like fish. This is because the Subnautica randomizer doesn't have a whole lot of logic in terms of what can and can't be used for some of the materials. The beginning tools are supposed to be something that you can get early on, because you need to have the knife to get a lot of other materials and stuff like that, but otherwise, the requirements are pretty much completely random. Now, there's a whole slew of settings that you can go through to adjust all of this, and it is something that will change because, spoiler alert, the first few runs don't go so well. I'm playing this challenge on pseudo-hardcore, if you want to call it that. Basically, if I die in a legitimate way, such as running out of oxygen, starvation, dying to a creature, that's all something that I'm okay with and I will restart the playthrough. However, I'm not running actual hardcore because Living Planet System, the other mod that I'm using to randomize creature spawns, can spawn certain enemies under the land. Anyway, the search begins. The first very important thing to note is it's completely possible to swim from Lifepod 13 to the surface where I can have air, which means I have access to the entire map and don't have to worry about being confined to just the Mushroom Tree Forest. As I'm material hunting, I can already see Living Planet System going to work. There's an amp eel in the safe shallows, which is fine. Honestly, amp eels aren't that bad. They're just kind of big and a little bit annoying. But I'm looking for a holefish and garyfish. Holefish are typically found in or around caves, and garyfish are just uncommon. They should be able to be found, but they are a little bit annoying to get, so the search in the beginning here actually takes a little while. And by a little while, I mean it takes an incredibly long time. 35 minutes later, and I still have not found a single garyfish or a single holefish. Either one would be amazing right now, because the garyfish would let me at least get a knife and get some of the other materials, like maybe for my fins if I find another garyfish, and the holefish would let me get a scanner. The scanner is actually incredibly nice because of the settings I have in the randomizer, where if I scan fragments I already own, they give me random materials. Maybe another holefish, maybe garyfish, maybe ion cubes, who knows. But this run ends in failure. I spend these entire 35 minutes just catching peepers and bladderfish and turning them into food and water so that I cannot find garyfish and holefish. So, a new run is needed because I died to dehydration damage. On my next attempt...
Right.
Well, at the very least, this time I was able to get some Gary fish and make a couple oxygen tanks. So we're not in the same exact place as before, but we're not doing that much better. We do have a little more air, which is nice. And I'm going to work my way up to getting an air bladder so that I can make it to the surface faster and have emergency oxygen if I need it. But that's kind of the thing. I don't really know what it takes to make the things off the top of my head anymore, so now I have to look up everything. And they're not logical recipes. Glass needs titanium, lead, and copper, so if I ever need that, I'm going to need to find those things. I'm never going to remember that, usually it's quartz. So that's what pinning is really nice for, and I'm so glad that I'm able to do this with the Living Large update and not before all this was added. Well, I have an air bladder, which is really nice because when you don't have a rebreather and you're searching around the tree forest, it can be a bit of a hassle trying to either get to the surface for air or getting that little bit of extra oxygen that you need. Unfortunately, 22 more minutes of searching after making an air bladder, I still cannot find a whole fish to save my life. I have no idea what I'm doing wrong. Usually I run into these on a whim, and now I can't find one after searching the entire shallows day and night looking for them. That's okay, I'll start again, and this time I won't have to get a whole fish. Let's see, boomerang, gas pod, metal salvage, okay, not bad. Whole fish and boomerang. Nope, let's restart. And let's see, once again, whole fish and salt. Nope. Okay, this time, whole fish and salt. Wow, I can't believe this. Alright, another run, and whole fish and quartz. What is with all the whole fish? Whole fish and creepvine. Whole fish and Gary fish. Whole fish and quartz again. Hey, look at that, lucky me. No whole fish this time. But there's also something kind of weird about this. Why does everything require a gas pod or floaters? I can make do with this. After some exploration, I realized that for my next air tank, the high capacity tank, I was gonna need lubricant and computer chips. And now those are randomized, so I have to look that up too. Lubricant's not bad, that's a gas pod. That's a quick trip to the shallows and that's done. But computer chip requiring a floater and 4 copper is quite copper intense. There's already been a few things that needed multiple coppers, so it already seems like this run is going to be very copper heavy. Probably even more so than the base game. Now the mushroom forest I spawned in is the northwestern mushroom forest, which is actually fairly close to the quarantine enforcement platform, and my knife requires a gel sack in order to be created, so I figured I'd head over there and start taking a look for gel sacks. There's usually 1 or 2. Plus I can get sandstone for the lead that I'm going to need for my high capacity tank, I'll be able to get shale to get diamond, and I'll get to see if there's any cool fragments over in this area. While I'm there, I figure I should scan the purple tablet and see what that takes, but that's actually kind of expensive. That doesn't exactly bode well for me because most of the alien facilities that you visit, or any of the sanctuaries or supply caches, will require a purple tablet pretty much 9 times out of 10. So if I ever need to make that, I'm looking at getting a bunch of materials for whatever an advanced wiring kit is going to require, and a normal wiring kit on top of that. I go ahead and warp over to the other island because I kinda need some food and water, and lantern trees are found over there, so that's kinda nice, but also I can scan a multi-purpose room, get another purple tablet, and scan some of the fragments that could be on the island. Sometimes in the base game there are stasis rifle components, so if I could see what's on here now, that might save me a few trips later. The multi-purpose room is actually a bit heavy on the resources. It requires a wiring kit and requires a titanium ingot, which itself requires a ton of resources as well. So I'm not feeling too confident in my ability to make those. But I still want it, I still want to scan it, I just might have to deal with a small base for the time being. I do end up finding some fragments on the island for the mobile vehicle bay, which is pretty nice too, and then I head back home with all of my new things ready to make my new knife. Now the randomizer often requires seeds from plants you may not even know exist in this game, so my next step is gathering resources to make the exterior grow bed I scanned on the island. And in the grassy plateaus, I find the power cell charger, which will be handy if I ever get to make any vehicles. There's a ton of them laying around. Like, way more than I think there should be. It almost feels like as if every fragment in the entire grassy plateau changed to a power cell fragment, which is strange but welcome because I get extra resources from it. While I'm at home making my things, the countdown for the Aurora explosion begins, so I get out of my base and take a nice look at it from the mushroom forest. And after a lot of farming, I decide it's time for me to make my real base. Keep in mind, the one that I start in down there is actually supposed to be the Lifepod, so that wouldn't normally be deconstructible, so I want to make my own base so that I can have my own add-ons. And I'm using the little trick of stacking base pieces in order for me to get this to be a floating base where I want it to be. After another 30 minutes of farming and moving stuff around, my base is now about 60 meters below sea level, floating by the giant mushroom tree. I've got 2 exterior grow beds with my crops nearby, and a multi-purpose room I just built in order for me to finally live in some sort of comfort. After skimming through that 30 minutes, the most important fragments that I found are Cyclops hull fragments, thermal plant fragments, moon pool fragments, and prawn suit grapple arm fragments. And that's still all in the relatively shallow areas. I haven't been to the Grand Reef, Sparse Reef, anywhere in the mountains or dunes, or anywhere really in the floating islands yet. The mushroom forest itself had sea glide fragments and nuclear reactor fragments. So it's kind of funny that both a really early game and an end game component were found right here. At this point, I would consider us to be in the middle section of the game. We're somewhat self-sufficient, we have a base, but we don't have any good ways of getting around the map or getting significantly deeper. While we have the mobile vehicle bay, now we need a vehicle itself, like the Seamoth. The problem at the moment with that is that takes ultra glide fins, which requires a modification station still, and I don't have that. So that's not really going to work. Looking at the depth upgrades, I have some Seamoth depth upgrades and a prawn suit depth upgrade, but the moon pool itself, where I would make that, requires Cyclops decoy tube and sonar upgrades, which I don't have, and I don't have the pieces for the Cyclops. So the moon pool is really an endgame crafting item. That kinda means that no vehicles other than the Cyclops are viable unless I really want to deal with crush depth all the time. Or you can swim around naked with nothing but a sea glide, but we know how that ended up in my starvation challenge where I almost got eaten by a sea dragon, and I really don't want to repeat that. Remember, this is what I would consider pseudo-hardcore still, meaning I can't die to legitimate things, like a sea dragon eating me when I could have completely avoided it. Packed with Sea Glide in hand, I head down to the Sparse Reef, which by the way, can remain pretty dangerous because of living planet system. There could be Reapers or Ghosts or even Sea Dragons out here. Instead, I find nothing but a graveyard of prawn suits. This is honestly really eerie. Like, I'm kind of uncomfortable and I can't really explain why, but if you just take a look at this, I really don't like this. It makes it feel like there was an army of people in prawn suits here trying to fight something off, and they didn't succeed. Down here also happens to be the ultra-high capacity tank, which is insanely useful right now since I still don't have a vehicle. But it's getting dark, and like I said, I'm kinda creeped out, so I'm just gonna leave now. Since it's nighttime anyway, I head to an area with high bioluminescence, the Jellyshroom Cave, and I start scanning around the first Degassi base to see if there's anything interesting. A thermal plant fragment is nice, and that should complete the set if I find another piece down here. The Sea Glide, not really necessary, but Laser Cutter is huge. Basically all of the wrecks that I've been to so far, I haven't really explored because I haven't had a way to get deeper into them. Unfortunately, the other laser cutter fragment that I need is not down here, but I do find the Cyclops sonar upgrade, which is required for the moon pool. So if I ever need to make that, well, at least I don't have to search the map for this. Back at home, I decided to make another exterior grow bed to plant, well, every plant that I've collected so far, because I'm not sure what I'm going to need and not going to need for the end of the game. It's useful to have, and even now, my prawn suit requires a pygmy fan, which I don't even know where that is right now. So I'm making exterior grow beds to collect pretty much everything in the game. Once again, it's rewarding to search the area you spawn in, because I didn't search this wreck by the mushroom tree forest for a long time, and I found both the swim charge fins and the laser cutter, which is a huge improvement because I need the swim charge fins for the prawn suit and the laser cutter to actually explore the game. And the first thing I do with the laser cutter is to explore the Aurora, because there are a ton of prawn suit fragments and even a sea moth fragment that should be now randomized. Plus, fixing the radiation will mean that I can just keep my rebreather on, and that's just a nice quality of life update. And unfortunately, I think I can confirm that the randomizer keeps some spawns static, because the prawn suit bay still has a ton of prawn suits, and the sea moth bay still has 2 sea moth fragments in it. This leaves the Aurora feeling a bit lacking, but you know what's not lacking? The prawn suit graveyard I discovered. I find the Cyclops thermal reactor module, which apparently unlocks the reinforced dive suit, even though it didn't in the randomizer. I'm not sure if that's a base game function or not, or if that's just a bug. But I also find the Cyclops depth module Mark I, which now means the Cyclops is pretty much the vehicle to have in this run. Since I'm over in that area, I head over to the wreck that's in Sea Treader's path, or at least I think it is, because you get the dialogue line for it if you haven't been here yet. And I find the modification station, which is really nice because I need that to make the swim charge fins and the ultra glide fins and all that other stuff that I might need for crafting components. And wouldn't you know, down here is also the recipe for ultra glide fins, which I need for the sea moth. That still doesn't change the fact that the sea moth is going to take crush damage if it goes too far down, but maybe I can use it for the shallower areas of the game, because it is getting a little annoying having to swim to the surface all the time. Back in the mushroom tree forest, I decided that it's time for me to make the prawn suit, because it just requires some plants and the swim charge fins, which I just got not too long ago. I looked it up online. Pygmy fans are supposed to be found in the mushroom tree forest biomes or the bulb zone, so I'm taking a look around, but I'm just not seeing it anywhere. Well, I searched for 2 in-game days and still find no pygmy fan, so it's time for me to go get the other crafting material, Gabe's Feather, which is usually found either in the Lost River or in the Blood Kelp zones if I remember correctly. And sure enough, I come down here and I find one, and then make a decision to grab a couple extra in case I need more. I want to be able to plant this, and I don't want to have to wait for the thing to grow just to make the prawn suit. And I do finally find the pygmy fans that I've been looking for this whole time. As it turns out, in this mushroom tree forest area, it's at the base of the trees just south of the trees that are holding the wreck in this area. You can see it when I look here. That's the tree with the wreck, and this is the big tree in this region. So kind of between the two, closer to the one with the wreck. Hopefully that helps for future players if you ever need this for your randomizer. Finally, after all of this, I have the prawn suit. It did take a long time, but I'm excited to have my first vehicle. And funny enough, I actually have a jump jet upgrade because scanning a fragment that I had already learned gave me 2 jump jet upgrades as part of the randomizer. With the prawn suit now in hand, it's time for me to go explore our favorite location in the game.
Detecting multiple Leviathan class life forms in the region. Are you certain whatever you're doing is worth it?
You know, honestly, I can't say that I am, but I do end up finding the Cyclops decoy tube, which is required for the moon pool, so that's kinda handy to have, I guess. Well, it really wasn't that successful. When I was in there, I was looking for Cyclops bridge fragments, but didn't find any. So now I'm in the bulb zone looking around for fragments, and I found a ton of engine fragments, literally just littered all over the place with engine fragments. But there are no bridge fragments here either. But I do end up finding an almost vanilla spawn of the reinforced dive suit, which is pretty cool. I'm starting to run out of places to search for bridge fragments though. To my knowledge, I've kinda been almost everywhere except for the back of the Aurora and a couple other biomes. So, I'm feeling invincible in the prawn suit as the game warns me to not feel when you make it. and I head back here with all the Reaper Leviathans searching for bridge fragments, which there are none of. So I head over to the Cragfield. A waste of time. So I head over to the Grand Reef, the Degassi base, the Lost River for some materials, and even the wreck in the Bloodkelp Trench. All of these things are cool and have some things of value, but none of them have any Cyclops bridge parts. And completing the circle, now that I have the laser cutter, I go back to the wreck that's in the Mushroom Tree Forest, and I do discover a couple cool things, like scanner room fragments and the Cyclops fire suppression system. Since I have now searched most of the wrecks in the game, I decide to make the propulsion cannon and take that with me. Some of the wrecks that I visited have a second floor to them that can only be accessed by moving some debris out of the way. The propulsion cannon is the only way to move that, so I decided to go back and do another loop around the map, this time with the propulsion cannon so that I can access those other areas and see if I can find bridge fragments. And this time when searching, I search every wreck that I know of in the game, including the second one in the Grand Reef, and the one that's in the mountains not too far from the Quarantine Enforcement platform guarded by 2 Reaper Leviathans. I even searched down below at the bottom of the underwater islands because I know that sometimes stasis rifle and propulsion cannon fragments can spawn down here. I'm hoping there are bridge fragments, but again, I find nothing. And no, there's also nothing on the other side of the Aurora in the crash zone either. I searched all of that as well. I even started employing bringing a scanner room with me to look for different fragments and things in all of the biomes that I searched. Now, I think it's a little unusual that I haven't found the bridge fragments by now, and I'm not sure if the randomizer just didn't spawn them. I assume that it should have. But I'm probably missing something somewhere in the game, and I decide it's time for me to move on and just try to beat the game with the prawn suit. That does mean I have to deal with crush depth damage, but oh well, it's what I have to do. For fun, we'll take the very same entrance that I took in the Starvation Challenge for Subnautica, the one that's being patrolled by a Ghost Leviathan in the northern part of the map. This time, I don't see a sea dragon immediately under me, which is nice, but now there's a timer to be aware of, in the form of hull damage on the prawn suit. And that's more of an issue than you would think, because this sea dragon guarding the lava castle decides that it's time to hit me with a fireball and take me down to 10% hull integrity. I barely made it out of here with a prawn suit. He can't reach in here, but I do have to get out and repair the prawn suit, and I can't afford to wait any longer because this thing will just blow up. And God forbid I go to get out and it slides off a ledge or something and I can't reach it before it explodes. I do only partially repair it so that I can move it from the sea dragon's face, that way another fireball doesn't go off and completely destroy this, but I'm hoping you can see why I didn't want to come down here and deal with the crush depth. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Knight, you're missing something super obvious here. The prawn suit has depth upgrades that can make it down to the lava zone without the aid of a Cyclops. Why haven't you talked about this? You keep saying that your only option is to accept crush damage on your prawn suit. Well, you see, my dear viewer, I can't even believe that this is what happened for the recipe, but here you go. I was hoping you'd take my word for it, but here's the proof of why I'm not making the prawn suit depth upgrades. So the lava castle gave me the recipe I needed for the blue tablet, which isn't that bad. I just have to go get some kyanite, and I'll need one more blue tablet in order to access the primary containment facility. Well, after getting everything I need, including the second blue tablet, it's time to get past this sea dragon and into the primary containment facility. First, I need to repair the prawn suit to fix all of the hull damage I've taken, that way I don't blow up if this sea dragon attacks me. And then we just have to risk getting past him, because of course he's here and guarding it. Okay, so we just have to get past you. I don't know what you're doing, but stay right there, I guess. Yeah, that's right, you stay right there. Don't even pay attention to me. I'm just fine. I'm doing nothing wrong, and oh my god, of course you're not going to stay there. No. No, 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 no. 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 Not now, Sea Emperor. I'm in the middle of something.
You seek.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm down here.
Help you.
Yeah, you can help by going away. Thank you. Have a nice day. The lava's gonna hurt. Yeah, ow. Oh, that drains fast. Okay, just jump over here. No, stay away. No. No. Warper, no. Definitely not the Warper. Not now. I'm just gonna go. Not even gonna look. Can't hurt me if I don't look. Okay, finally. Let's fix you right now. Hopefully he can't shoot me from here. Well, that wasn't close at all. Well, the Emperor does her Emperor things, and the hatching enzymes really aren't all that expensive. I can easily afford this, I just have to do a little bit of farming for silver. And of course, it wouldn't be a complete playthrough without seeing the Sea Emperor once again knock this juvenile away from her face like this. It's hilarious every time. And unlike the base game, the Neptune rocket parts aren't actually all that expensive. It's just kinda hard to get all the copper I need to make everything, since pretty much all of these recipes in some way require copper in a roundabout method. But finally, at the end of the day, Jochi Khasar has managed to flee planet 4546b starting in Lifepod 13. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I am planning on releasing this as a series where we go through and do every life pod in the game as an alternate start. My thoughts are to increase the randomizer difficulty depending on the starting location of the life pod itself. That way, easy life pod spawns are not trivial compared to the harder ones. And I'm hoping that'll spice things up a little bit. I'm also thinking about adding some more creatures, more dangerous creatures and stuff to really change things up between these runs. So let me know what you think, and as always, thank you so much for watching.